Okay, good morning, friends. Shalom Aleichem, Bruchim Haba. We're continuing Mishna Berura, Daf Hashavua. We're learning Siman Ayin. Siman Ayin. Sif Hey. Siman Ayin. Sif Hey. We're learning about those who are exempt from Kriya Shema. Yesterday in Sif Dalid, we saw that the Mechaber said that if you're engaged in Sarchei Rabim and Zman Kriya Shema came, you do not interrupt. If I'm not mistaken, Chazal tell us that in the days of Ram Gamliel of Yavne, they did not say Kriya Shema because the Chachamim were so busy, Oisek b'tzarchei Rabim, they literally did not have an opportunity to say Shema. Okay. Sif Hey, Haya Oisek ba'achila. Let's say you were involved in eating. Oisha b'merchas, you're in the bathhouse. Oisha Oisek b'tesparis, you're in the middle of a haircut. Oisha Haya mahapech ba'oirais, you were flipping over the hides in the tannery. Oisha Oiskim medin, or you're judging. Leharambam goimer v'acher kach kari kriya shema. According to the Rambam, you finish what you're doing, and then you say Shema. Vim haya misyari shema yavras man kriya. If you're afraid the time will pass, upasak, and you read it, you stopped, vikara hareza meshubach. I mean, according to the Rambam, if you're in the middle of doing something, then you finish it, and then you say Shema. And what if you're going to end up missing Shema? It sounds like, so be it. I'm in the middle of doing something right now. I haven't taken a haircut. Hopefully there'll be time after. If there's not, look, I already started my haircut. And if I stop, you're a great guy. And according to the Ravid, you interrupt and you read, even though there'll be time later. Now, it's absurd to say, according to the Rambam, you could continue with the haircut and not say Shema. So you have to say what the Rambam means is there'll be time later. You'll be finished your haircut 15 minutes before this man. You're not really worried. So according to the Rambam, if you're not really worried, you don't have to stop. But if you do stop, just to make sure that you don't end up forgetting it, you're a good guy. According to the Ravid, no, you're required to stop. Now, this is talking about Zman Kriya Shema. Says Mishna Berura, Oisek ba'achila, uman nikra haschala. What's considered haschala? Ayin lekaman b'siman reish lamed beis sif beis. Goimer, you finish. V'achakach haynu kishum mishar sheyishar lo zman likras. Like we said, it has to be where you evaluate that there'll be time to read it. Because if you evaluate that if you continue with your haircut, you're going to miss the Zman Kriya Shema, of course you are required to stop and say the Shema. Umasha kasa v'im haya misyare. The language of the Mechaber, and this is why we didn't read it this way initially. The lashon of the Mechaber is, if you're afraid the Zman might pass, hareza meshubach. That implies that in other words, when the Rambam says that you don't have to stop, it has to be there's time later. So then what does the Mechaber mean? You're afraid the Zman will pass. It means you're afraid maybe your evaluation wasn't so precise. Masha kasav im haya misyare, right? So loymar shemisyare shema in hasharas mechvana seit. If you're afraid that maybe your estimation was not that precise. Ula harayvin mafsik. The haskamas roiv ha'achrayim. The haskama of most achrayim. The Bach, the Taz, the Magen Avram, the El Yarabba, and Shar achrayim. The Chemat kulam, practically all of them. That what it's going to depend on is, did you start with an allowance or did you not start with an allowance? And all of these things work, or any other thing besides eating. If you started before Amid HaShachar, Ein Sarach Lifsaik, you don't have to stop. provided that provided that you'll have time after you finish to say Shema and Daven. Darei kaimalan b'sun peites sif zayin d'loy gazru samach l'shachris. We paskin in Siman peites sif zayin that they did not make a decree that you can't start work within a half hour of alois. So in that case, if I started my haircut 2 minutes before alois, or I started building my bookcase a few minutes before alois, I started beheter, and in that case, imkein hischel beheter. Aval im hischel la'achar she'olam min hashachar. But if you started after alois, the hischel be'isser, where I started be'isser, poisek l'kriya Shema d'hudai raisa. I have to stop for Shema, avaloi lebrachas, not for brachas, v'loi letfila. V'achar kach kishagoymer hamalacha. Then when I finish, I go back to daven. I say Shema with the brachas and daven. This is all that I'm allowed to continue working when I start the B'Isser, if there'll be time to daven. But if you see the time is passing, you have to stop immediately. Whenever you're not required to stop, afilu yaver zman tefila b'tzibur eino chayv lahafsek. You don't even have to stop if you're going to miss minyan. Meaning, if you started working beheter, then you're allowed to continue working. Again, for Shema, we say like this. By melacha, if you started beheter, you don't have to stop, not for davening and not for Shema. But if you started be'isser, you have to stop for Shema, but not for tefillah. Now the din that you don't have to stop for tefillah is even if it means you're going to miss a minyan. So it comes out, if you started working be'isser and the minyan comes, you're not required to stop. That's what he seems to say. And he's quoting the El Yarab and the Derech HaChaim. Now what about achila? Because this is the $1 million question. I have this question every single fast day. Okay, you ready? All you halacha people out there. Every fast day I have the following question. I want to wake up early. Am I allowed to start eating within 30 minutes of alois? Normally we say, you're allowed to eat a derech harai, you can't eat chilas keva within a half hour of alois. But I want to say a pashut reason why, before a fast day, you're allowed to. And I know that not everybody holds you are allowed to, but I've seen that many poskim hold you could. And I'm not sure about this. What's the reason why you're not supposed to eat within a half hour of alois, sudas kava? So normally on a regular day we say we're afraid you can get caught up in the eating. And if you start within 30 minutes of alois, you're going to continue after alois because you started, you're going to be nimshach besudasai. And you're going to forget to daven shachris. So I want to say very pashut. That doesn't apply by a fast day. I'm not going to continue eating after alois because the fast day starts.
You'll forget it, Shachris, and you'll forget it's a fast day.
You're not going to forget there's a fast day. I have a question. Do you stop eating a half hour before Yom Kippur? Because you can't eat within a half hour of Yom Kippur. You might continue eating on Yom Kippur. Never heard of such a thing. You stop eating a half hour before Tisha B'Av? I have a question. Are you allowed to start eating a Sudas HaMafsekes within 30 minutes of Tisha B'Av? Of course you can. Oh, but you might forget it's Tisha B'Av. When the rabbis in Yavne never made that decree. I never heard of such a thing. So I want to say in the morning, even though every other day of the year you can eat a Sudas Keva within 30 minutes of Alois, you're allowed to on by a fast day. I know some poskim say not. I recently saw, and I'm not remembering clearly, that this is such a compelling svara that A number of the Gedolei Poskim say it's mutter, and there doesn't seem to be a logic that you can't. You hear what I'm saying, everyone? How are you going to argue against that? Since when do we geyser? Don't start eating because you might forget it's a fast day. Nobody forgets it's a fast day. People start medicating themselves 6 months before the fast with all kinds of slow-release pills. They've taking slow. They have 500 different slow-release pills going through their system for caffeine, for sugar, for every mineral and vitamin that you can imagine. People are more comfortable on a fast than any other day of the year. They're preparing half a year for it.
Maybe that's only in the morning you're afraid he might. It's not in the afternoon.
People are only forgetful in the morning. Later on in the day, they're not forgetful. Why? The only svar I could think of is loy plug. When the rabbi said you can't eat within 30 minutes of holiest, they said you can't eat within 30 minutes of holiest. In some cases, the rationale doesn't apply. Okay, it doesn't apply. But by the way, it makes a big difference, because if I want to get up, if I'm going to get up, it better be worth it. I'm not going to get up. I don't want to get up 45 minutes before holiest. Well, I have to get 2 a.m. And if I'm getting up, I want to eat. I don't want to have some people, they're good with a cup of coffee. No, if I'm getting up, I want a meal. Am I allowed to have a meal within 30 minutes of holiest? You hear the shaila? Okay, weiter, let's finish this up. Says Mishna Berura, U'le'inyan achila machon maggid Siman Seif desvirlei le'ikar adin de'me'achila tzarich lifzik teich mishal avan hashachar, that if you're eating, you got to stop by holiest va'afilum hischal b'heter v'loi mehani shom eitzo kol zman shloi hispalel. I don't understand why anybody would think otherwise. Of course you have to stop eating. You're not to eat before davening. Right? When it comes to eating, if you started eating 2 a.m., what, you're allowed to continue eating the whole morning, even though you didn't daven Shachris? Right? And l'chara, that's pashut. Fine. Weiter. Siv Katan Chav Daled. According to the Ravid, you have to interrupt. Mashna del Achar Sheyikor Kriya Shema. Right? The case is the guy started working, and there's time later afterwards, but we say stop to say Shema, but it's Mashma Af Shaloi Hisval Adain. He could continue working even though he didn't daven. But Mutter Ligmar Kol Elu Hanyanim She'eschli, he could finish all the things he started. Chumash Gesandim Siv Katan HaKoidem, that it's Dafka for Shema. B'hai lishna lav dafka le'inyanim haya oisik ba'achila. This language, when the Ravid says, when we say haya oisik ba'achila, when the Mechaber says haya oisik ba'achila, the ba'achila kfar kosam netzar gamkin l'spala mikoidem. Because by achila, if you're going to have to stop by Zman Kriya Shema, you're going to have to stop not only for Shema, but for Tefillah as well, because you're not allowed to eat before davening. V'nakti mishum shar dvarim. It only picked achila because of the other cases. Inami mishum kriya shema shel arvis nakte. Or you could say it picked it for kriya shema shel arvis. Debehushach gamken kol elo hadinim. Because by mariv, there's no din you can't eat before davening. Uveshal arvis vadeim hischab chol elo achamisha dvarim. B'say chatzi shash shekam says cham. All by mariv, if you started any of these 5 things within 30 minutes of tzeis, mavsik miyad. You stop immediately. What does that mean, you stop immediately? You stop within 30 minutes. It seems like even though the Mishna Berura is mashma, you stop even before Tzeis, because you started Be'isr within 30 minutes of Tzeis HaKechavim. It's not Pashut. Other Achronim say you don't have to stop until Tzeis HaKechavim comes. And when the stars come out, you could Kriya Shema b'loi b'chasei, you say Shema without the brachas, v'achar kach gomer achilasai, then you could finish eating, or shar davar, v'achar kach kore Kriya Shema, Then you say Shema, uberchaiseha, umispalel, ukel kaman, misun reish lamed hesav beis, ayin shamra prima gadam. Now, why according to the Raiva do you stop right away? It's a gezeira, Shema yimashech behem. You might get drawn into it. V'yaver zman krishma, and the zman krishma will pass. Ve'enoi doimel letfilas hamincha. It's not like mincha. Dekaimalan besun reish lamed beishim hischa b'chal elu kadim shesbal yinetzach lefsaik. By mincha, even the Raiva agrees if you started in any of these things before you daven, you don't have to stop. Meaning by mincha, everyone agrees to the Rambam. So why here does the Raiva say you have to stop? Lefisha Krishma, he minat Torah. Krishma is biblical. Echmir ba yoser, there were more machmer. And the Rama says, look in Sin Reish Lam. Here it's the Shama var chilik bein hischa beheter lehischa beisser ayin sham oid. There's a difference between if you start beheter and you start beisser. Tomorrow we begin Siman ayin aleph avel, and those are oisek b'tzarchei ames. In the meantime, have a great day. You could try to be mavarer. What is the din about starting a meal within 30 minutes of Alois HaShachar? Have a great day. Kol tov.